Hi there. If you're watching this, either you follow me on Twitter and wanted to see what I've been teaching for the past month, or you just happened to stumble across a video on YouTube with a very alluring thumbnail. I'm quite proud of it actually. I drew it myself. Anyway, I'm pretty new to this making videos thing, so I might not be up to your lofty standards here. I'm not a very good speaker either, so I might stumble across my words or sound a bit monotonous. You might already be setting that now, so just please bear with me. I'll try my best to make this worth your time. So over the past year, I started watching people who make videos where they review popular music and or create rankings of their favorite and least favorite songs of certain years. And I've been pretty inspired by them because a lot of them have really interesting writing and presentation styles. I was probably going to share my favorite songs of 2018 on Twitter anyway, so I thought that, might as well make a video out of it too. It would be a pretty good creative exercise for me, since a video like this would involve a lot of writing and presenting and editing and whatnot. Hopefully this will be a fun learning experience for me, and hopefully it'll be entertaining for you as well. With all of that out of the way, let's talk about the train wreck that was 2018's popular music. Now, I'm not very good at generalizing things, especially something as fluid and constantly changing as popular music, so I can't give any grand statement of the music scene with much confidence. That said though, we did get a lot of different flavors of bad. Boring, annoying, morally reprehensible, and many more. But we're not here to talk about the bad, we're here to talk about the good. And honestly, I think there were some really good diamonds in the rough this year. Actually, I wouldn't say a lot. It was kind of tough to fill the list with songs that I could wholeheartedly say that I loved. But there were some genuinely great top-tier hits this year, and you'll see me get very passionate about them soon enough. I do have a few guidelines that I'd like to share for what I consider a hit. Firstly, any song is eligible if it appeared in Billboard's Year-End 100 list for 2018, or in the top 20 of the weekly Hot 100 at any time within this year. One thing to note is that this will not be a strict ruling, as I will be making one exception for this list. I'll explain why when you get there. Secondly, if a song filled the first guideline and also appeared in said positions last year, or any other year before, it will not be eligible for this list. Unfortunately, this will disqualify songs like New Rules and Havana, which I love. Thirdly, any given artist can only have one entry where they are the main artist. You'll see why this was an important rule for me to impose on myself later on. This rule will not extend to guest features that said artist participates in. For example, if I include a song from artist A, I cannot include another song from artist A, but I can include a song from artist B featuring artist A. Finally, none of these rules will extend to my Honourable Mentions section. Any song that I listened to this year has an equal shot here, including some oddball picks. I will have some eligible songs there, of course, but I also wanted to use that section as an opportunity to highlight some songs that weren't hits that I generally loved this year. With all of that out of the way, let's get to the list. These are the top 10 best hit songs of 2018. Number 10. The 10th spot on lists like these are always difficult to fill. Either you have plenty of options and you have to make some really painful cuts, or you don't have a lot of options and you have to scavenge for something, or you have to settle for less. This next song is not an example of the former, but it's not really an example of the latter either. So like when I first drafted this list, this song was originally at number 10, but it wasn't a pick that I was very passionate about at the time. Now later, I found a song that I thought might have been better and that I thought I would have more to say about, but unfortunately it soured on me for various reasons and I took it out the list. So this first song returned to its rightful place at number 10. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this song being here right now, because it's one of those songs that people say are either decent or mediocre. But I wanted this list to be as honest and true to myself as possible, so this song is here right now because I love it. I very vividly remember the exact moment this song dropped. I was just browsing the internet, eternally refreshing my subscription feed, as you do, when out of nowhere, holy shit, Kendrick Lamar has a new song? And it's a collaboration with SZA? And it's a part of the Black Panther soundtrack? Which Kendrick Lamar is curating? Well, to be honest, I never actually watched Black Panther, mainly because I don't watch Marvel movies, or superhero movies, or really movies in general. Granted, Black Panther was probably the closest I ever got to watching a Marvel movie since like the first Avengers movie. I just couldn't really get over having to take a 5-minute bus ride to the cinema to pay $7 to experience one of the biggest cultural moments of the year. So the connection between this song and the movie have very little influence over my opinion of the song. Admittedly, because the song is a tie-in with the movie, I get the sense that both Kendrick and SZA had to dial back a bit for the sake of both mainstream and corporate appeal. That said, both of them still kill it because Kendrick and SZA dialed back are still like a solid 7 to 8 out of 10.
Tell me what you gonna do to me. Confrontation ain't nothing new to me.
Kendrick's verse starts off kinda generic with him talking about how nobody can stop him. It kinda sounds like these lines were mandated by the studio or something. Though I can at least still see Kendrick earnestly saying these lyrics, so it's not a complete hack job. The rest of it is still awesome though.
I hate people that feel entitled. Look at me crazy cause I ain't invite you. Oh, you important, you the moral to the story. You endorsing, motherfucker, I don't even like you.
Lyrically, it almost feels like a B-side to DNA. The way he so efficiently cuts through the bullshit to get to this person trying to take advantage of his success. It's awesome seeing him still being awesome on here. Unfortunately, that's about all we get from Kendrick on this song apart from the chorus. Fortunately, the rest of the song is filled out by SZA. Honestly, the main reason why this song is here in the first place is just because of SZA. I love SZA a lot. Her voice is beautiful, her songwriting is captivating, and at least on her 2017 album Control, she has a lot of good production to back her up. Thankfully, some of that does translate over to All the Stars. Now here's a fun fact you may or may not be aware about. SZA's verse in All the Stars is different depending on whether you're listening to the album or the single version. In the single version, which is used in the music video, her verse follows the same themes as Kendrick's, in that she's telling some mean-spirited asshole to fuck off. Whereas in the album, her verse is about being with someone who she loves, who doesn't have the same feelings for her, and about how she won't stop him if he wants to leave. Honestly, I like the lyrics to the single better. For one, they feel more relevant to the song, and I like how she admits that this person makes her feel good, but she also recognizes that they're trying to take advantage of her and ultimately decides to distance herself from that. I will say that I do like the vocal runs she does on the album version a lot more. Either way, this is still a pretty great song by two of my favorite artists at the moment. It sounds fantastic, the lyrics are still pretty strong, and both Kendrick and SZA managed to stay true to themselves on what could have been a completely phoned-in cash grab. Still doesn't hold a candle to Doves in the Wind though. I still can't believe SZA destroyed Kendrick's dick like that. Number 9. Now, I don't really know how popular 5 Seconds of Summer were in America, but here in Singapore they were everywhere in 2014. Here, if you were a teenager that year, it was impossible for you to escape the band they called Five Sauce. Their hit songs were on heavy rotation everywhere you went, their Twitter hashtags were always trending, and they were always weird. Many of my secondary school classmates were big fans of them. Their popularity back then reminds me a lot of the popularity of BTS and K-pop in general today. At the time, it felt like they were going to be the next One Direction, but by 2015 it was like they never even existed. I didn't hear any new music from them, their hashtags disappeared, and no one seemed to talk about them anymore. Not even my classmates who were big Five Sauce stans. So when I heard that they were releasing new music in 2018, I assumed it wasn't going to go anywhere. Needless to say, I wasn't expecting a top 10 hit from them.
Remember the words you told me, love me till the day I die.
I'm a little bit at a loss of what to say about this song, to be honest. I hadn't listened to it until I was looking for nominees to this list, so I hadn't had a lot of time to think about what I like about this song exactly. And seeing it on multiple worst lists this year didn't really help. Here's one thing I'm certain about though. I'm a sucker for songs with beats like this. The sort of beat that you hear on songs like Do What You Want by Lady Gaga, Like I Would by Zayn, and Lost in Your Light by Dua Lipa, among others. That beat gives these songs a kind of swagger that makes your body swing while you dance. Young Blood isn't better than any of those songs, but the fact that it has that beat kinda brings it pretty close by default. Aside from that, the song does have elements that I do really appreciate. For one, the way the song builds up is really effective. The song starts quiet and minimal with the single guitar strumming, and it slowly builds up tension throughout the verses. Then in the chorus, the bass and the kick drums provide a great foundation for the groove this song is building. Both of these things give frontman Luke Hemmings a lot of room for his vocals to power through while also giving him some groove to work with. The song builds up really naturally up to the final chorus, and I just love the way the transition into it sounds. It's a really satisfying payoff for all the tense build-up of the song. Young Blood creates a vibe that's somewhere between Attention by Charlie Puth and She Looks So Perfect, their previous hit. It's tight and cool while also loose and energetic all at the same time. I'm a sucker for both kinds of songs, so even though this is far from the best of either type, it still does a lot for me just for its ambition alone. Number 8. Oh boy, I wonder how many people are gonna segue into this song by saying they like it. Maybe putting this right after Young Blood wasn't the best idea, because I don't really have much to say about this song either. I don't understand Spanish, I live nowhere near the Americas, and I don't know much about any of these artists, including Cardi B. At most I've passively heard stuff about her, but I can't say anything about her progression as an artist or anything. At most, I can say that I didn't really expect a fun, lighthearted Latin-influenced song from Cardi B, though it made much more sense to me after learning that Cardi B is actually part Dominican. I Like It samples Pete Rodriguez's I Like It Like That, and it adapts the same sense of undeniable, infectious joy and fun from that song.
Hop up the stoop, jump in the coupe, big dip on top of the roof.
The production of I Like It is great, and all the instruments, from the beat to the horns to the piano in the verses, work so well together. Cardi B herself is probably my favorite part of the song. I love pretty much every single one of her lines here. For one, I love how the first 6 lines have her saying, I like this, I like that, to go along with the title of the song.
Now I like dollars, I like diamonds, I like stunning, I like shining, I like $1 million deals, I like those Balenciagas, I like going to the Tula, I like texts from my exes, I like proving niggas wrong. These are a few of my favorite things.
It also works really well because it lets her brag while still sounding like she's having fun. She makes it all sound so effortless because she's highlighting just how much she likes doing all this stuff. It's fun to her. Speaking of bragging, thanks for making halal food sound cool.
Flexing on bitches as hard as I can, eating halal, driving a lamb.
She compares eating food that's permissible in your religion to driving a Lamborghini, and considers both of them flexing. Thank you, Cardi B. Now my friends will think that I'm cool for eating halal food because I'm Muslim. I don't have to feel bad anymore for saying that I can't eat somewhere because it's not halal. Also, I really like when she goes, "Skrrr."
That bitch make you nervous.
Bad Bunny is handed the mic after Cardi, and I think he makes a pretty good segue between her and J Balvin. Cardi is all energy and fire spitting, while J Balvin is laid back and cool. So Bad Bunny toning it down while keeping the beat going works really well here. Some of his lines are kinda questionable though. Not bad, but just kinda weird. Like, is it just me or does he seem like weirdly defensive about his lines? Like, dude, chill bro. You don't need to try so hard to prove yourself. Cardi is all like, ooh, look at all this cool shit I get to do, while Bad Bunny's like, fuck you, I have more money and health than you, poser, bitch, fucker. Also, I'm glad that Bad Bunny is finally giving us the long-awaited sequel to International Love with the part of his verse about how he likes women from different parts of Latin America. For real though, that part was kinda weird. In the last verse, we move on to J Balvin, and while he's not as much fun to listen to as Cardi or Bad Bunny, I had a lot of fun reading the translation to his verse in particular, mainly for this one line. Okay, so Genius says that Jimmy Snuka is a wrestler whose signature move is the Superfly Smash, and I'm guessing that J Balvin is trying to say that girls fall for him in that fashion. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about what exactly he's doing to pick up girls. And right after that, he says he's gonna snatch my wig. We stand? And of course, we have this. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's saying that when he walks into a club, the paparazzi swarm all over him, but Lady Gaga? With all that said though, J Balvin does convey relaxed and cool pretty well in his verse, which makes him a good candidate for the third spot on this song after Cardi and Bad Bunny. The three of them gel really well on this song and kinda cover all the bases of where a song like this could possibly go. You have the fun and energy of Cardi, the braggadocio of Bad Bunny, and the relaxed confidence of J Balvin. Despite each part being as different as they are, they all still feel like they're having fun and having a good time here. And it's hard for it not to catch on to me whenever I hear it. I'm really glad this was around in the summer. Number 7. Remember when I was talking about all the stars and I said I had another song in mind for that spot? Yeah, it was a Drake song. I very nearly put a Drake song on this list. You'll never guess which song it was either.
Get your motherfucking roll on.
For a while, I kept swapping Nice for What in and out of the list because I was under the impression that I should like it a lot more than All the Stars. I mean, All the Stars is just a lame soundtrack song that squanders the potential of two of the best artists in the game, while Nice for What is easily the best thing Drake has done in years, right? I mean, most people like the production and the message of the song, but I feel like neither of them are as good as they could be on here. The track is upbeat, sure, but it's also pretty tinny and minimal for most of the song. It's good, but I feel like it could be better. As for the message, I don't buy it for a second coming from Drake. You know, the guy who abandoned a woman and left their child with her until he could profit off of them, either by writing songs about them or even through a bloody brand deal. Not to mention lyrics like this, which came in the single right after Nice for What.
Can't go 50-50 with no hope. Every month, I'm supposed to pay her bills and get her what she want.
I didn't want to put Drake on this list. To say he was overexposed this year would be the understatement of the century. And giving him a spot for one good song wouldn't feel right because of all the awful stuff he's given us this year. With all that said though, this next song does technically feature Drake. I know, I'm sorry. Just cut me some slack and let me justify myself here. For one, pretty much everything I like about this song has nothing to do with Drake. Also, when this first came out on the album, he wasn't even credited, so I don't have to put his name on screen. Hooray! I really didn't expect this to be here. I skipped Astroworld when it first came out, and I never really sought out Sicko Mode, even when it became a hit. I think maybe I watched the music video once, a few days after it came out, just because I heard Dave Meyers directed it. After a while though, I saw more and more people talking about it and reviewing it, and those things didn't really change my mind on it at first, but as time went on, I kept catching myself humming and singing along to it, and then I realized I liked it, and then I realized I loved it, and then I realized I loved it a lot. This song is really phenomenal. So technically, this song is made up of 3 smaller songs, which is pretty unconventional for a top 10 hit. The first part is essentially a really good Drake song, or at least an intro to a really good Drake song, because this is a really good intro. The synths create a great mix of hype and horror in the atmosphere of the song. This probably would have been Drake's best song this year by a long shot if this musical idea had been fully developed.
Sun is down, freezing cold. That's how we already know when it's here.
By the way, I didn't know this until I was writing this part, but apparently Drake has a dog named Winter. He's even in the video. Look, there he is! I like how that line is so foreboding and intimidating as well. Like, oh my god, his dog is here. Also, I like how before the beat drops, the hi-hats before it extend for an extra few bars. Gets the people going, you know? Then, of course, the song begins and Drake gets to say literally 15 words before he gets... The second part of the song makes for a pretty damn good Travis Scott song. The beat is grimy and dark, but in a way that's still really catchy and interesting. Travis's main flow is really cool and it really suits the beat.
Was off the Remy, had up at post.
The first verse is so full of slang and references that even genius can't help me. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a middle-class teenager from Singapore. There's no way I can get all of this. I really like this line though.
Different color chains, think my jeweler really selling fruits. And they joking, man, know the crackers wish it was a news.
I hope he says that in front of everyone during the Super Bowl next year. Assuming he does perform anyway. The second verse is definitely easier for me to understand, though if I'm being honest, I'm not sure how comfortable I am with Travis Scott bragging about girls flocking to him the way he does. The music video doesn't really help either. But even then, it's still kinda redeemable because it seems like it's more about just bringing them along for the ride.
Told her hop in, you coming too.
There's almost a sense of inclusivity to it that I really like. Something that says, hey, I'm having a good time, why not come along with me and have a good time as well? Also, I find it really funny that apparently this one girl is just so amazed by his swimming pool.
We ain't even make it to the room. She thought it was the ocean, it's just a pool.
They're not even gonna have sex tonight, she's just gonna enjoy the pool. The last part teased both Drake and Travis on the mic, and personally I think it's the most underwhelming part of the song. I'm just so tired of Drake rapping over beats like this, and it doesn't help that Travis puts his loud and sudden ad-libs over Drake's verses.
Back in high school, I used to bust it to the dance. Yeah!
It feels like I'm falling asleep during a boring lecture before being suddenly woken up by the lecturer. I'm not even sure if it's the beat's fault that I don't like Drake's verses. At this point, you could put Drake over a K-pop banger and I would still start nodding off halfway through. Honestly, the beat is actually pretty good when Drake's not on it.
Yeah, Pastor Dawson Sally sending texts, ain't sending kites.
The verse Travis has here is a lot better, mainly because he can actually ride the beat instead of letting it carry him like a piece of driftwood in the middle of the sea. It's a shame that it only takes up like a quarter of the final section. By the way, what's the deal with Travis Scott and Jamba Juice anyway? He name checks it twice in this song.
I just landed in, Chase B mixes pop like Jamba Juice, the Jamba Juice.
We give Jaden Smith crap for reusing his Dirty Dishes line on Sire, yet we let Travis off scot-free? No, that wasn't intentional, but God, I wish that was. I looked this up, and apparently Travis Scott just really likes Jamba Juice.
My girl actually is like a super Jamba Juice fan, and she turned me into
like a connoisseur?
Yeah.
By the way, Jimmy Fallon really got Travis Scott to do a Jamba Juice taste test on his show. Anyway, I'm really glad that this was my first main exposure to Travis Scott as a main artist, because it's really shown me how good of a performer and a producer he is. After listening to the entirety of Astroworld, albeit only once through as of writing this, my opinion definitely still stands. I'm really excited to see what's next for this guy. Number 6. When I first heard this song off of a 2016 album from one of the biggest names in music, I wasn't really into it. It was good, but compared to the other songs on the album, it wasn't anything special. It took a remix with another one of music's biggest personalities of today to bring this to the top at the start of the year. It didn't change the song much, and yet it suddenly became one of my favorite songs of the year.
Ooh, don't we look good together? There's a reason why they watch all night long.
Again, the remix doesn't seem to change much from the original, and yet it just feels so different. Whenever I revisit the album now, it just feels lacking. Maybe it's Cardi?
Drop top Porsche, rollie on my wrist, diamonds up and down my chain.
Her verse is pretty damn good, although I feel like she's kinda out of place being in such a strong 90s homage, posting pictures on Instagram while listening to Lil Jon. But I don't know, she still feels like a great fit for this song. She has this kind of specific sound to her that fits this happy, late New Jack Swing, kind of corny and juvenile song. She sounds like she could fit right into pretty much any 90s era hip-hop song, from the hardcore stuff to the really basic mainstream stuff. She sounds like the family TV sitcom version of herself, singing about her milkshake bringing all the boys to the yard.
My big fat ass got all them boys cook.
And yes, that's basically what the line is, don't try to deny it. It does seem like Bruno redid his parts of the song too. He sounds ever so slightly more soulful and passionate. Not so much that it sounds like he's taking it too seriously, but just enough to really elevate the song. I might be hearing things, but it also seems like the song has some added backing vocals and maybe some more mixing to really make the song pop. All of these things seem to come together for the perfect 90s revival to start the 90s revival. We even have a music video based off of In Living Color, a 90s sketch comedy show that I never watched. It seems like 2018 was a big year for tributes to TV shows, from this to Degrassi to even Victorious. This one definitely seemed like the most fun homage though, if nothing else because the look of this video is so fun and colorful. All of the bright, vibrant, kinda ugly clothes everyone is wearing, all of the cheesy yet kinda awesome dance moves, the fact that this video was shot in 60 frames per second for some reason, all of these things make the video a lot of fun to watch. That makes it a perfect fit for this song because everyone involved in it sounds like they're having the time of their lives. This applies to the original version too, and more so on the remix now that Cardi is on it. Like, I'm not sure what else I can really say about it other than how much fun this song is. If there was a happier song that became a hit this year, I haven't heard it. Yes, that includes Happier. You know, the song that can't tug on your heartstrings on its own so they had to have Miranda Cosgrove's dog dying in the video to get cheap views, but I'm getting off topic here. Bruno just has a knack for making infectious songs that get everyone moving. Treasure, Uptown Funk, 24K Magic, That's What I Like, and now Finesse. That's a pretty damn impressive track record of making incredible upbeat music that makes everyone happy. Sure, it's not exactly reflective of the zeitgeist at the moment, but hey, we all need a little sunshine every once in a while. Number 5. I mentioned at the start of the video that there was going to be a song on this list that didn't fit the criteria. The reason I decided to count it as a hit song anyway is because it's a K-pop song. Now, I might be wrong about this, but K-pop doesn't seem to be that big in America. Sure, you have all the stans you see everywhere online, but interest in even the biggest groups like BTS don't seem to extend very far past their respective fandoms. Even though said fandoms are very big, that doesn't seem to really translate much into actual chart performance and relevance. A band will release a song, maybe it'll make a really high debut, and then immediately fizzle out because the only people buying and streaming these songs are the fans and nobody else. The thing is though, K-pop is absolutely huge here in Singapore, as well as most of Asia. There are many more K-pop acts that get buzz around here, and for the biggest ones, their songs seem to stick around forever. Realistically speaking, probably about a quarter of every single teenager in Singapore actively listens to K-pop. I know 4 separate friends of mine, none of whom know each other at all, who are gonna see BTS when they come to Singapore next month. That's like 80% of everyone I know. Now, personally, I don't really listen to much K-pop. It's a bit hard to keep up with all the new acts and the new releases all the time, not to mention that K-pop Twitter is the single scariest thing in the universe. But even a complete noob like myself could appreciate this inescapable smash hit. Firstly, that title is awful. Like, how would you even pronounce it if you haven't heard the song? For those who aren't aware, this song comes from a band called Blackpink, a 4-member girl group made up of equal parts rappers and singers. They made their debut in 2016 and have since then released 2 EPs. This song coming from their second EP, Square Up. You might have already known about them since last year if you watched this Jax Holmes video.
Who's your favorite Blackpink member? What's a Blackpink?
Now, the Doo Doo song debuted at number 55 on the Hot 100 one week and completely vanished the next week. Despite that, it still made Blackpink the highest charting female K-pop act ever in America. And they're the 3rd highest charting K-pop act in general, next to Psy and BTS. I don't really know why exactly Blackpink in particular crossed over while other groups haven't, but I'm really glad that this song in particular did because it is a fucking banger and a half. The reason why this works so well is because the members of Blackpink are forces of personality to be reckoned with. These girls are more ferocious and cocky and imposing than any American acts could ever hope to be. I can say with complete sincerity that the best rappers in 2018 were 2 South Korean women named Jennie and Lisa. Some people are even already trying to rip them off. I mean, just look at Sicko Mode. Travis can try all he wants, but he'll never be as cool a professor as Lisa. The other 2 members, Rose and Jisoo, sorry if I'm butchering their names, are more dedicated to singing here. Even so, there's still an air of confidence that runs through them like the other 2. Their pre-choruses also do a really good job of evening out the song. The verses have them showing off their strength and ferocity, while in the pre-chorus, it's as if they don't even need to lift a finger because they already know that you already know they're above you. I just love how edgy Blackpink are here. You just don't hear songs like this outside the realm of K-pop. I also want to give credit to the song structure of Durarara here too, because I love how it keeps introducing these new elements to keep it fresh. The second verse has a completely different flow from the first. The bridge is a great progression from everything before it. And right when you think you're about to get a final chorus, something awesome happens. You get this kick-ass drop, that's what you get. What an awesome way to end this song. This is How We Do by Katy Perry is an incredible banger, and I'm excited to see what else Blackpink has up their sleeves. Hopefully an actual album eventually. Number 4.
Taylor Swift is on top of the world, but has she done some sketchy things to get there?
When Taylor Swift released Reputation last year, it felt pretty underwhelming. At the time, I was hoping that she would be critically analyzing herself and her reputation, and I thought it was disappointing that all we got was basically just a lot of typical love songs that we normally expect from her. However, now I actually really like Reputation. There was a moment when I realized that there's so many love songs on here because her lover is her refuge from her reputation. From all the drama and the expectations and the people who try to make her look bad. And then I realized that many of these songs are actually really great. I might go so far as to say that this album was just as good, if not better, than 1989. There, I said it. Look What You Made Me Do is still a train wreck though, don't get it twisted. Sure, it's still a flawed album, even when you look at it that way. But it does make me appreciate it a whole lot more. The moment when I started to appreciate all of this was when I saw this.
Listen for the best. My reputation's never been worse, so.
Actually, it wasn't the song itself that changed my mind, but the music video. For a while, this was actually one of my least favorite songs from the album. It felt like by this point in the album, 5 tracks in, she was just gonna slap a "my reputation's bad" line into every song that has little to do with it. However, I feel like the music video really shows what I had been missing from the song, as well as the album as a whole. In contrast to the mess of Look What You Made Me Do and Taylor trying and failing to play the villain, I get the sense that Taylor is just really exhausted by the spotlight being on her all the time, and having to answer for herself to media outlets who are just gonna twist her words anyway. I mean, that face says everything, doesn't it? And yeah, you could say that she put it on herself by playing into it, but the thing I realized after a while is that people really did give her a lot of crap that she didn't deserve, especially with that whole thing between her and Kanye. Funny how that turned out. The thing is though, I think the magic of what makes Delicate such a standout from the album lies in how, even though Taylor's circumstances are so extraordinary and unattainable for peasants like us mere mortals, it still feels relatable. I mean, don't you ever feel so exhausted by the chaos in your life that you just want to escape and disappear from it all? Even if for just a moment?
Third floor on the west side, me and you, handsome near a mansion with a view.
It feels so cathartic, even just seeing Taylor being able to let loose once she's realized that she's become invisible to everyone. Seeing her dress down and dance around without worrying about people watching her and judging her feels so vicariously liberating. It's not like all this comes from the video though. The song itself is about how her lover is that escape from the world for her. In the mess of her life, where her reputation is apparently in the toilet, her lover is the one person she has who genuinely loves her and has her back and will be there whenever she needs them. And Taylor sounds so earnestly happy in this song because of it too. Even if you don't have the tumultuous public life of Taylor Swift, there's still something in that sentiment that really resonates with me. Something about the relief of finding refuge from the pains of the world in someone or something that is really comforting.
Delicate.
Number 3. If you follow me on Twitter, you might know that I'm a big fan of Dan and Phil. Earlier this year, I went to see their show, Interactive Introverts, when they came to Singapore, and it was awesome. They were hilarious the whole way through, and their personality and chemistry with each other really carried the stage show. For your viewing pleasure, here's some out-of-context videos from that show.
Yeah. But I don't think I'm going to start effing on Amazing Phil every week. You better not. You know what I mean? Do we? That would get demonetized. Okay, but look, I don't have one of those. I was wondering what that thing you got in the mail. Shut up! But what happens now? Does he do body shots of an otter? Who walks into a club and just starts doing shots of somebody? You apparently. Or... To be clear, that is actually how Phil sees himself. I'm so sorry this is happening. Might not be amazing. You're about to get filled in. Okay, this is happening. And who knows what the future holds? Death. Death is what the future holds. It's coming. It's coming. Wow.
One thing I knew going in but didn't realize the full extent of before I saw the show was that their fans are very loud. It was great, but my eardrums will never recover. The audience screamed and cheered as loud as they could at every single moment. You could even say that I have indeed seen a crowd go apeshit. Now, before I get into the song, I just want to say that this is low-key my favorite music video this year. Not just because they managed to rent out the goddamn Louvre and film, among other things, a fucking wide shot of Beyonce and Jay-Z in front of the actual fucking Mona Lisa while the room was completely empty. I just love the way this video is shot. It's amazing how they can make still shots of paintings and slow pans look so awesome. Aside from that, I love the concept they're going for of people of color taking the stage in front of classic European artworks. They're creating modern classics in front of all these classics, and future generations will be able to appreciate and enjoy art made by and depicting all sorts of people. However, the album that this comes from, Everything Is Love, probably won't be one of those modern classics. Everyone seems to agree that after Lemonade and Beyonce and 444 from Jay-Z, hearing them brag about how rich and successful they are just isn't as interesting or captivating. Or at the very least, after such a turbulent time in their lives, they could have ended this chapter in their lives with something a little more interesting than, okay, we cool now. Unfortunately though, that meant that this song in particular kinda got left in the dust, debuting and peaking at number 13 before falling off. Which is a shame because this song is just layers upon layers upon layers of fire. The beat is fucking killer. It's in that perfect Goldilocks zone where there's just enough in it to feel fast-paced and chaotic, but it never feels messy or overbearing. By the way, did you know that there's a version of this song that replaces the Carters with Migos? I get the feeling that this probably would have been one of their best songs ever if it had been theirs. No one seems to know whether Migos made the track for Beyonce and Jay-Z, or if it was supposed to be for themselves before it was handed to them. Either way, thank goodness B&J got this song because they add so much more to it.
Give me my check. Put some respect on my check.
Beyonce is fucking electric at every turn. She rides the beat and switches her flows like water flows down a river. She makes it seem so effortless, yet when you try to get in, you just get completely swept up. Also, she's definitely shown off her material wealth in her music before, but Jesus Christ, she has so many ways of saying that she's rich that I need to have a live translation on Genius just to know what the fuck she's talking about. Jay-Z accompanies Beyonce on here too, but if I'm being honest, he's more of a guest feature than anything else. He does make for an excellent guest verse though. Here, he's more focused on flexing his strength than flexing his money. I'll be honest, I have the barest idea of who Chief Keef is, and I've never actually watched The Lion King, so when I first heard this line, I had no idea what he was talking about here. Apparently this was supposed to be a jab at 6ix9ine, because the only thing I ever heard about Chief Keef is that he and 6ix9ine had a beef at one point, and I don't know, something like 6ix9ine was trying to hide from Chief Keef, or something like that. Well, I don't know what you did, Jay-Z, but you owned him so hard that he might be serving life in prison. Thank you for your service, Jay. It was well worth it. The rest of his verse is also pretty incredible. The whole Super Bowl part is awesome.
I said no to the Super Bowl. You need me, I don't need you.
Especially since it's very clear now that the Super Bowl does need him way more than he needs them. Also, seeing him lip-sync to Migos' ad-libs is really funny. It's cool that he's kind of adapting with the times and learning from the new kids, but I'm also really used to Jay-Z being a very deliberate, serious performer, and these ad-libs are basically the opposite of all that. Jay-Z is great on here, but honestly he barely holds a candle to Beyonce. The second part of her last verse is the best part of this whole thing because Jesus Christ, she goes off. You know that part in Feeling Myself where she says she can stop the world?
I stop the world. Male or female, it make no difference. I stop the world. World stop. Carry on.
This one split second in the verse is that ability of hers in practice. In that one split second, light stops moving. Between her and Blackpink, girls really do run the world.
Have you ever seen a crowd going ape
Shit was the best banger of the year, bar none. Even after all these years, Beyonce and Jay-Z are still capable of declaring their superiority over everyone else. Hopefully they're also still able to make interesting albums. Number 2. Now, I didn't start watching the charts until about a few months ago, around the time that Scorpion came out, I think. And even now, I don't really watch them all that intensely. Around the time I started doing that, the top 10 looked pretty familiar to me. You got Drake, Cardi B, Maroon 5, more Drake, Post Malone, BB Rexha, even more Drake, Ariana Grande, Zedd, and Drake. But in the midst of all that, the entire time there was this one song that stubbornly clung onto its high ranking no matter what happened. It was by a woman who I had never heard of, and it didn't seem like a hip-hop or a trap song, so it couldn't really be riding off any trends, and I don't remember having heard it anywhere in real life either. I kept wondering to myself about the song every time I looked at the Hot 100, until one day I finally decided to listen to it. From the moment I pressed play, I was hooked. A beautiful 90s R&B throwback became a top 10 hit in 2018. Who would have thought? Even Bruno Mars couldn't do that last year, and he's Bruno Mars! Okay, firstly, I have to get this out of the way. Apparently this was produced by DJ Mustard. Yeah, that DJ Mustard. You know, Don't Tell Him DJ Mustard, Rack City DJ Mustard, Show Me DJ Mustard, Freaky Friday DJ Mustard. You know, that guy. Next you're gonna tell me that Skrillex is gonna produce the next Utada Hikaru single. For real though, DJ Mustard's production here is stellar. I love how the song blends modern trap elements with these lush organic instrumentations. The beautiful piano that carries the whole song, the synths far back that give the song atmosphere, the hi-hats that make the song feel current without feeling like they're gonna be dated in a few years. And of course, LMA herself grounding the wistful floating production into something that feels real. It really feels timeless. I love LMA's voice. It's so incredibly rich and resonant. She has that kind of voice that really commands your attention, but she has so much control and ease over it that she can convincingly project the lyrics of the song. I know I just talked about Delicate, but still, it really caught me off guard to hear such an earnest song full of love so high in the charts, especially with this much staying power. It really feels refreshing. Now, I'm not really even referring to the production here. I mean, that does help, but I'm just not used to hearing something written in such a heartfelt way get so popular. It's like one of those edits where you put a bunch of heart emojis over a picture of Kermit the Frog or whatever, but turned into a song. It's just overflowing with pure, unfiltered love and emotion. Also, I'm still really annoyed that both the music video and the album version of this song leave out what is probably the most important part of it, the monologue.
This is such a crazy feeling.
It's the goddamn centerpiece of the song. That's what makes it so sweet and heartfelt. It's like ordering a McDonald's meal and leaving out the fries. That's what completes the meal. What the fuck?
Grab me by the waist, baby, pull me closer.
Aside from that though, I'm so glad this miraculously became a hit. I'm not expecting this to start a trend of R&B slow jams from now on, and I'm not even sure if I want that to happen. I'm not sure if anyone else is capable of achieving the same kind of magic that this song has. Not even LMA herself. I'm just really glad that it happened this one time. This is something special.
I guess I should listen to my heart. Right?
And now, before we get to my number 1, here's some honorable mentions. In the first draft of the script, this section was 13 minutes long, but I managed to cut it down to just 4.5, so y'all should be grateful.
Look what I'm whipping up. Look how I'm kicking up.
The song This Is America doesn't really work without the video This Is America. But that's not really a knock against the song. Like, the song and the video are supposed to go hand in hand, like a really good soundtrack to a really good movie. And this is an incredible video.
Maybe it's your love, it's too good to be true. Baby boy, your love got me tripping on you.
This is basically a very serious, grown-up version of Boot Up. I personally enjoy Boot Up more because, the feeling of it is so much stronger. But this is still pretty excellent. This is an excellent, well-written, masterfully composed and produced song. It's such a subtle pop song, yet it can be so gratifying to listen to if you're willing to let it build up. Sure, it's not nearly as button-pushing as Madonna's or Lady Gaga's efforts to piss off the conservative crowd and push pop music forward, but it is still a great trap pop banger that works well with her style. And of course, the gospel singing is absolutely beautiful. Now sing along with me. I'm sensing a theme here. I'm not really sure why the general public gravitated towards this song in particular and made this her first ever #1 single, but considering that Thank You Next is a beautiful, well-written, introspective song about looking back on your past relationships and learning to grow from your painful experiences to become a better person, I'm glad it became her first #1 song. Now we get to the non-hit section, and goddamn, I was really hoping this would be a hit. It's like 3 times as good as One Kiss. The album Sweetener deserves a lot more credit than it gets, especially the Pharrell-produced tracks. Especially this song in particular, Don't Fucking At Me. This should have been so much bigger. In a better world, My would have made Troye Sivan one of the biggest singers in the world. I wasn't really sure what to expect from Golden Hour, the sleeper critical hit darling album of 2018, but I definitely wasn't expecting disco. Hopefully we'll get to see a collaboration between Casey Musgraves and Daft Punk before the decade's over.
Well, the skies are finally open.
This is the best song I've ever heard.
That's just the way you make me feel.
In a better world, Make Me Feel by Janelle Monáe would have been the song of the summer. A sexy, cool, simple, infectious jam from one of the most talented, versatile, powerful artists of today, who also happens to be a queer black woman with a great voice and an important message. She is the hero we need but do not deserve.
The tea that I sip, it burn lip, fly little bitch, put my name on a blimp.
Cupcake has so many great songs, and this is probably her best song yet. She goes from 0 to 100 before you can even blink, and she doesn't slow down at all until the very end of the song. Now, I'm a little late to the Rina Sawayama party. I literally only just started listening to her as I was writing the script, but this is probably one of the most perfect songs I've ever heard. Everything about this song, from the melody to the lyrics to Rina's voice, feels so ethereal and euphoric, and they fill my heart with so much emotion. It's beautiful. And now,
it's time for the moment you've been waiting for. Da 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 da.
number 1. By this point, if you've been paying attention, you probably already know what my number 1 is. If not, let me hammer it into you with some really long preamble. Ariana Grande has had an excruciating couple of years. In the past 19 months, she's had a terrorist attack happen at her own concert, she had a breakup with Mac Miller, her album Sweetener, despite the generally positive critical reception, received lots of negative reactions from her own fans who got on her ass for it. She was sexually harassed by a priest at Aretha Franklin's funeral. Mac Miller suddenly passed away, and for some sick reason, people blamed her for it. And her engagement with Pete Davidson was called off. To say she's had a rough year would really be the understatement of the century. Even the little stuff is really ridiculous too. At one point, some people on Twitter were making fun of her goddamn forehead. What the fuck? Who do you think she is, Jax Films?
I find it interesting that this has been one of like the best years of my career and like the worst of my life.
And yet, Ariana not only managed to endure all of those things, but she has somehow emerged from it with so much positivity and seemingly impossible grace. No Tears Left to Cry, the whole Sweetener album, and Thank You Next show her turning the most sour of lemons and making the sweetest lemonade you could ever find. Ariana already had my undying respect after her One Love Manchester concert. I don't know how my admiration for a single person could go any higher. Like, it's actually kind of unbelievable how well she endured all of that. She handles pain, and that shit's amazing. Make no mistake though, as much as she's endured the trauma and heartbreak and frustration in her life, she's still human. Almost every long-form interview she did while promoting No Tears Left to Cry mentions her breaking down whenever she talks at length about the Manchester attack. But who could blame her though? The fact that all of these things happened to her and that she can still be so open and so loving is almost superhuman. My point is, all that shit is hard on her, and it probably gives her a lot of anxiety. And what's a good way to deal with anxiety? That's right, a really bad segue about breathing. If you couldn't tell by now, I really love Ariana Grande. I get the feeling that some people will probably discount the song because of the chorus. I mean, come on. You're telling me that when I have a literal anxiety attack, the best thing I should do is to just keep breathing? Really? What should I do next? Count to 10? But I think when you look at the song as a whole, you'll see that it's a really spot-on portrayal of the feelings a person with anxiety can experience. The verses are full of lines that convey these feelings of being trapped and being drained that really hit close to home.
Some days things just take way too much of my energy. Feel my blood running, swear the sky's falling. Time goes by and I can't control my mind. Don't know what else to try. Tune it up, they can be so loud. I look up and the whole room's spinning. I get so overcomplicate. People tell me to medicate. I don't know, this shit's fabricated.
You really see how her anxiety can incapacitate her, even when there's nothing for her to worry about, and how she's all too aware that there's no real reason for her to feel anxiety, yet it takes over her body anyway to the point where she can't even breathe. It just amazes me that a song from someone as huge and popular as Ariana Grande tackles this subject so well. It feels so accurate and weirdly comprehensive. It's almost really relieving to hear a song like this in the top 20, you know? It's like, you go through your entire life with these symptoms of anxiety that make you feel like shit on a regular basis. And whenever you ask someone about it or someone catches on to you, most people just pity you or give you really basic advice as if you haven't already tried those things a billion times. Or at worst, they completely disregard your problem and say you're being silly. But then you meet someone, a friend, a teacher, maybe a therapist, who you share your problems with, and they just completely understand how you feel, and they know the perfect way to help you. And it makes you emotional, even if it's just a few comforting words of acknowledgement. It's that feeling of finally meeting someone who understands that your anxiety is real and it hurts you, and hearing that they'll be there to comfort you or even help you that makes you want to cry tears of joy. Even just hearing Ariana say that she feels the same feelings I do is so comforting. It's so relieving to hear these words come out of the radio, especially from an artist who I already loved and respected so highly. This song would already have ranked pretty high if the only good thing about it was its lyrics, but thankfully, Breathin' also sounds incredible. The production of this song front to back is fantastic. Breathin' starts with these jingling sounds and a muffled synth line that creates an ominous atmosphere, combined with a beautiful melody that immediately tells you that you're in for something personal and emotional. And Ariana delivers on that promise too, sounding just so vulnerable here. The instrumentation is reduced to a minimum during the first verse to give way to the lyrics to shine through, and then the chorus comes in.
Just keep breathing and breathing and breathing and breathing.
The synths build up and an admittedly basic set of clap sounds come in to get the song going. But then something awesome happens. The beat from Hold On We're Going Home comes in. It's literally the same beat, with like the same beats per minute and everything. Now that was another great song with a great beat and melody, but the lyrics always kinda got in the way.
I got my eyes on you. You're everything that I see, 'cause you're a good girl and you know it.
So I'm personally really glad that this beat is finally on a song that I can groove to without feeling icky. And yeah, under normal circumstances, I would agree that an inspirational song that told me just to breathe and, forget my problems would be really cheap and shallow. But when it's coming from Ariana Grande, who has endured so many hardships in the past year and a half that I'm convinced at this point that she could lift a boulder with her pinky finger, and when it's surrounded by all of these verses, instead it feels really comforting and reassuring. It's as though she's telling me that I'll be able to make it through everything, one impossibly small step at a time. That even just taking a single breath will bring me infinitely closer to recovery. And all of it builds up to probably the single best moment in all pop music this year. It's just so electrifying, the drums that lead up into it and that goddamn guitar solo. Oh my goodness, best 20 seconds in popular music, bar none. Ariana Grande is such an important artist to have around, especially right now. Someone who's not afraid to love, forgive, and grow, who is not afraid to try new things and experiment, who is not afraid to show her most vulnerable self to connect with and help others, who is strong enough to sweeten what is sour and inspire others to do the same. Out of all of her songs this year, Breathin' is arguably the best display of her strength and her kindness, which is why this is my favorite hit song of 2018.